Good evening. I see that we currently have no attendees. So I'm Neethu, and I'm one of the planners of the City of White Rock, and it's my pleasure to start this meeting today. So we are gathered for today's public information meeting because it relates to a temporary use permit extension at 1589 Maple Street. I'm just going to bring up my presentation now while we wait for a few people to join in. So we're just going to start in a couple of minutes here, and once we have everyone attending with us this evening, I'll then be able to start my presentation. So I'm just going to move ahead. So as I mentioned earlier, the public information meeting this evening relates to a temporary use permit extension at 1589 Maple Street. So the purpose of this meeting is to inform you about the intent and the details of this application. We are open to receiving comments and questions throughout this session as and when we have attendees join in. We will eventually get to a point in this event where we will publish all the comments we're receiving and do our best to respond to those comments. So this is a live event and is supported by city staff and will also be briefly spoken to by the applicant, who is Mr. Kanwa Damrait from Vidu Properties Limited. The meeting is being recorded and is going to be posted to the city's webpage and the city's YouTube page following this meeting. So if you wanted to watch the meeting, or if you know someone that is not able to join this evening and may want to watch the meeting, they can watch it there. We will not be publishing any questions until the question and answer section of the meeting. So that section of the event will be following my presentation and following a brief presentation by Mr. Kanwa. If any of the comments or questions are not appropriate or offensive, I will not be publishing those comments. If there are comments expressing non-support for this permit application, we will certainly publish those, as well as the questions and comments that relate to the application. If you have any additional comments and questions following the meeting, you can email me at the email address seen on the screen, which is nsham@whiterockcity.ca. So just to give some context, people might already be familiar with this property, but the subject property is located at the corner of North Bluff Road and Maple Street. As you can see highlighted in red. To the southwest of this property is the ongoing 13-story Altus Development at 1526 Findlay, and to the west is a BC Hydro substation. To the east and the south of this property, they are mostly single-family homes. And finally, to the north and across basically North Bluff Road is the city of Surrey. So there is a bit of history to this file. The applicant had applied for a temporary use permit for a temporary sales centre and construction site office in 2018, which was related to the 13-story multi-unit development called Altus, which is also by the same applicant. This was supported by council, and the permit was issued for 3 years with the option for extension of the permit. The applicant has now put forward an application for the extension of the temporary use permit to allow the continuous use of the Altus Sales Centre for the purposes of having a sales centre to market the real estate units with associated off-street parking, have advertising structures like a project signage associated with these units, and a temporary construction site office to support the Altus development along with off-street parking. These three purposes were included in the previous permit issued in 2018, and so this application relates to a time extension to the permit to use the property for these temporary purposes. So with this brief introduction, I'm going to turn it to Mr. Kanwar to go speak to his application further. So Mr. Kanwar, if you want to unmute yourself and speak to the application whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name, can you hear me, Neetu?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, my name is Kanwar Damrat and I'm representing Bylaw Properties. As Neetu mentioned in her presentation, we requested in 2018 to grant us a temporary land use permit to have a sales center at this location, as we are still doing the construction of that Altus Tower and still doing the real estate activities at this property. We need another extension to the existing temporary land use permit. So that is why we applied for this application, and I'm here to help to answer any questions or anybody has any questions for this application.
Thank you, Mr. Kanwar. So at this point, I still see that we have no attendees, but that being said, I'm going to open the floor to questions and comments as and when anyone joins. And I can then refer them to the applicant based on the nature of the question or try to address it myself on the behalf of the city. As I mentioned earlier, if we're able to answer your question properly or comment properly, or if something comes to mind to you after a meeting, or at the events that you want to present your comments more formally, there is a digital feedback form available within the calendar details tied to this event. So if you go to whiterockcity.ca/calendar and look at the September 9th event date, you can find tonight's event details, and within that is the digital feedback form. All the comments that we receive regarding the application will be part of a future report to council, and it is a good opportunity for you to express your support or non-support for the application. If you have any additional questions or comments, as I said earlier, you can send them to me in an email at the email address seen on the screen, and I will try to respond to them with the support of the applicant. So at this time, we'll maybe wait for 5 to 10 minutes to see if we get a couple of questions and we'll respond. I still see we have no one attending so far. We can probably go over the presentation again if someone new joins us in the meanwhile. The next steps after this meeting is we will be going to be reviewing your feedback, which you would be providing to us today through your questions and comments and through the feedback form that you would fill in, which we will be providing to the applicant as well. And then the applicant will have to submit a public information meeting summary addressing any questions or concerns received. The applicant will also have to address any questions or comments that staff provides. And once those comments and questions have been addressed by the applicant, we will be preparing a draft temporary use permit along with a report, and staff will present the application to the Land Use and Planning Committee, who is a committee of all our council members. If the Land Use and Planning Committee and council support the application to move forward, we will be scheduling a public meeting. So this public meeting is going to be your opportunity to actually speak to council directly with regards to this application. Following the public meeting, we will be bringing the application back to the Land Use and Planning Committee, and if it is supported, it will then proceed with recommendations from the committee to council to consider this application. Once council gives support for this application, then we will prepare and issue the temporary use permit, which would be valid for a limited period of 3 more years. So this is just the process moving forward.